Welcome to the City Show. Pat O'Melia here on GGR Radio. As I say on every show, tell your friends, download the app. Tell your friends, hey, download that app for Live 365. This way you can listen to GGR and Pat O'Melia and all the other people on the station here. It's free, and there's a lot of other programming besides us on Live 365. A lot of me, if you're into music, a lot of music there. You could be dancing all day. What are we going to talk about today? Well, the studio goes in a hiatus on June 19th. What do we do on a hiatus? Well, we start improving the studio. We decide what shows are going to go forward, what shows are not going forward. We create new shows. We're working with the high school kids. We're going to be working with NJCU college kids, teaching them studio production and radio production. The radio will continue on during hiatus. That'll continue to go. But we work on things. For that matter, today I just brought up the new control van for our high school programs. My guys will now be able to go out on location, have all the equipment, everything they need to whether do video or radio. Van rode pretty good. Just picked it up. Personally did an oil change on it this weekend. I'm checking out to find out what else I have to work on, but it looks like it's pretty good. We're going to talk about of course, it's election day, primary election day. We got a hometown guy in this for the governor, Steve Fulop. We're going to talk about what's going on in L.A. with the riots / protests, whatever you want. When they start burning the cars and spitting on flags, our flag, and burning the American flag, that goes to riots to me. I want to talk about the upcoming elections. What should probably happen politically here locally in Hudson County? The electric bill gimmicks. There's so much we want to talk. Robbie Balla got 250 parking tickets. I live in the Heights. I never even got 250 parking tickets. All that and more when we come back. You'll listen to the City Show Radio on GGR. We'll be right back.
Comprehensive healthcare is here, here, and here. RWJ Barnabas Health is healing, enhancing, and investing in Hudson County with its two newest locations, Hoboken and Exchange Place. Within walking distance or accessible by mass transit, our locations combine convenience with primary and specialty care, including cardiology, women's health, orthopedics, cancer care, and more. Let's be healthy together.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net.
We're back. City Show Radio here. Pat O'Melia. Yes, I'm still here. One of the other things I want to talk about, I got the Ford Tourist Connect van for the high school program and the college kids. One thing I want to definitely get to, I got to get the important stuff, but when you're buying a car, they got these documentation fees. It's like $349. What documents are we talking about? I was arguing with this thing, but I'll get to that. Like I said, hiatus starts on the 19th of June. We'll keep the radio going, and we'll keep working. My high school kids will be here learning things. For that matter, I just got a text from one of my kids, Zully. They're coming in Thursday to finish their Project Garrett, so be aware of that. They're coming in. Let's go right to usually I would start with the election stuff, but we got to look at what's happening in L.A. Immigration protests, riots, whatever you want to call that. I don't have a problem with protesting. I have a problem when you want to block the highway, or you want to block my street. I'm trying to get to work. Protest, stand on the sidewalk, protest, don't block the street. But what's happening in L.A., and I think there's two types of protest riots going on out there. I think there's people who have issues with the government's immigration law. And make no mistake, it is the law of the country, the immigration law. That immigration law has been in effect probably longer than I've been alive. And all the BS that you've heard for years and years, we got to change the immigration laws, the Democrats or the Republicans, nobody's done nothing about changing that. Because there's no real will to change that. All of that is a lot of talk. And you can't have open borders, which right now they're closed. It's amazing. They showed some footage of like a year ago to what it is today. There's nobody crossing the borders now. We need immigration laws. Do we need the ones we have? That's somebody higher in my pay grade. I don't know. All I know is that's the law in the books. And when you have sanctuary cities, which I'm in a sanctuary city, Jersey City is a sanctuary city, that decide they're going to, because of ideologies, they're going to not cooperate with the federal government. And normally how things work, Fed trumps state, state trumps municipal, and county sits in there somehow. But the feds are the overall thing. When municipalities tell law enforcement not to cooperate with ICE, that's an immediate problem. What are you going to tell next? Don't cooperate with the federal marshals. Don't cooperate with the Internal Revenue Service. No, you can't pick that. But under Biden, they pretty much handcuffed ICE and all the immigration, and they turned their back, and they would give you a lip service saying, "Oh, we're securing the borders." Yet at night you see the news reporters are down there, and they're just flying across the border, swimming across. What's happening in L.A.? And people are looking at Trump and saying, "Well, look what Trump's doing." No, the difference here is you're looking at what Trump's doing and what Biden didn't do. Biden didn't do anything. Remember 2020, they were burning Minnesota, California, all these states. There was Seattle, Washington. They had that whole section of the city that was like their own zone, the protester zone. That's not going to happen under this president. Biden was asleep. The auto pen president, whatever the hell you want to call him, he did nothing. And when it comes from the top, the federal government says, we're not going to do anything, then you got sanctuary states, sanctuary cities, and municipalities who can decide, we're not going to cooperate with the feds. Without the feds saying you're going to have to, Biden was like, okay. All right, let it go. So what you're seeing in L.A. is what should have happened in 2020. You can't let the people block up the roads, burn cars, loot the businesses, and that's what's happening right now in L.A. Not just the protests, and there's probably two groups of protesters. There's probably the ones that have a legitimate issue with the immigration laws, which is fine, and we can listen, but guess what? I'm 68 years old. The same freaking laws. Almost 7 decades they haven't changed it. And it keeps, Trump's going to be the deporter. Obama deported like 4 million people. He's the head deporter. Nobody has made any changes because there's no will to change. In the back rooms, they're like, we don't want to change. We don't want all the immigration. And that's probably true. But we should just be honest with everybody and say, listen, this is the law. We're going to abide by the law. And every one of these, like Newsom in California, this guy thought he had a shot at running for presidency. That just exploded in his face last night. But here's another guy. He's suing Trump over sending the Marines in. Your friggin' city is burning down. It's burning. And you're talking about having a Trump trying to quell the problem, restore law and order? What an idiot Newsom is. But really, the difference is what you're seeing is a president who's going to enforce the laws of your country, as opposed to a president who just stayed in the basement and was asleep. Well, I don't know who would call it the shots back then. It's something we really need to learn. I'm watching, I think it was Fox last night. They had the live coverage of what was going on in L.A. You see the people throwing firecrackers, frozen water bottles. Yeah, there's some professional agitators. You're seeing them in 2020 and other unrest where, it's 90 degrees outside and you're in a black hoodie, black pants, black mask. Those guys are paid. We need to find out who's paying those people and get to the money. Follow the money. But I'm watching a newscast, and during the newscast, a commercial comes on for wounded warriors. Now, these are the 4 soldiers who came back from service, legless, paralyzed, deformed, quality of life reduced. So these people can riot, and they can burn. They were burning off flags. They're spitting on the American flag. And then you see the commercial of these soldiers. Thank God for wounded warriors and tunnels and towers. For that matter, I'm going to talk to Tunnels and Towers about possibly doing a show with us here on GGR. They're burning off flags and spitting on it in L.A. And I'm looking at this poor guy. He has no legs. What's the irony there? So these animals who are attacking law enforcement, throwing water bottles, burning our flags, spitting on our flag, throwing cinder blocks off bridges onto patrol cars. There's a problem. And, we all have some issue with Trump. I'm big on the economy. Like I said, when he got elected, I'll give him a year. I kind of know Trump from the New Jersey Generals when I was a season ticket holder there. And, of course, I've been covering him for years and years here. I'll ride with him for a year. But I tell you what, you just supersized President Trump. The whole nation is seeing what he's doing, standing up to these rioters. Seattle, Washington, they're probably sitting back after what happened in 2020 like, wish Trump was here so they didn't take over our friggin' city in Seattle that time. Minnesota, same thing. The Midwest is seeing this. The South is seeing this, and they're saying that's what has to be done. You can't let the inmates run the asylum. So what's happening in L.A. is like giving Super Mario a mushroom. You're supersizing this guy. There'll be an effect in the elections today, guarantee you. Anybody who's seen the flag getting burnt, stepped on, and spit on is going to vote for a change. I don't know if the Democrats recover from this. I don't even know who the Democrats would actually run. Yeah, now, it is so splintered and it is so lost in whatever belief they're in. Like I said, Newsom's a complete idiot now. Yeah, I seen him. I know he's California, a lot different than us. But yeah, I'm going to sue because the president is bringing in the Marines because my city is, Los Angeles is burning. There's riots and criminal activity all over the place. And he's bringing in the military. He should. He should have those big water cannons there. For that matter, law enforcement and the military should be able to go in there with impunity. No matter what they do, there's no repercussions to them. That's the only way you quell this. Now, I wouldn't have problems shooting some of these people with real bullets, but I would use something a little more impactful than the rubber bullets. Somewhere, if you get hit, your broken rib, your knee is broken. Something where the next time you think you want to protest like this and throw water bottles or spit on our flag, you might think twice about it. But doing what they're doing out there, now, you got to go back to the 70s where they would have beat the hell out of you for this kind of protest. Was it right? Maybe not. But you can't have people attacking law enforcement and the military and tying one hand behind their back. You got to turn these guys loose. It's the only way we're going to restore law and order. You got to make the United States safe again. What we see in L.A., it is not safe. And it's, they're burning the buildings. They're breaking into people's businesses. They're closing the businesses. Poor bastards are trying to get home from work. They're blocking the friggin' roads and the highways. You're not getting any sympathy from anybody. Now, the Mexicans who are out there protesting, I could probably sympathize. I don't know much about Mexico, just what I read. I know it's a problem with the drug cartels. Presidents get assassinated weekly over there. It's a horrible situation. People get kidnapped. They're murdered. They find them out in the desert out there. I personally wouldn't go to Mexico. I would assume these people don't want to go back to Mexico. So that's unfortunate. There are legal ways to come here. And you just can't, swim across the water here and get here and then try to hide behind our own laws. They're entitled to due process. They're going to get due process when they came in. Why are they getting due process on the way out? But to see these people, and again, I'm going to exempt the Mexicans because I'm going to say they don't want to go back. It's a horrible place they may be going back to. But if you watch the reports, the people they have locked up in L.A., there's some hardened criminals. You got murderers here. You got a guy that shot up a school. You got sex offenders. You got kidnappers. You got all sorts of criminals here. The guy, ICE is doing the right thing. Now, if ICE goes after a guy, he's a murderer, and he goes into a bar somewhere or someplace, wherever this murderer is, and he's hanging out with another 8 or 9 undocumented, you're taking the other 8 or 9 with you, too. They're all going. But, who they're locking up, these are serious criminals. You've seen the charges on the screen yesterday. Now, ICE is doing the right job. They're doing the job of the people. They're enforcing your laws, the laws of the United States of America. The thing is, you got a president now who is going to enforce those laws, unlike Biden, where he just sat down and these sanctuary cities and states popped up. No, they'll be dealt with. And listen, I'm a Jersey City guy, and one of my friends is Stephen Phillip. He's got the sanctuary city here. There'll obviously be some repercussions to that. Eric Adams in New York said he will not stand for any kind of protest or rioting in New York City like that over immigration. Simply, you've got to have the laws. We have our federal laws that have to be observed. Like I said in the opening, what are you going to say? I'm not going to deal with the federal marshals. The federal marshals are looking for a murderer. We won't deal with the federal marshals. If we catch the murderer, we're going to let him go and help him hide. Same thing with all sorts of enforcement here. From sheriff over there, you're going to pick and choose who you're going to deal with? No, we have to obey by the laws of the land. If we don't, then it's an anarchy. Now, that's what it will result in. We'll go back to where we were under the Biden years. where entire cities were taken over and burned down. Federal buildings were burned down. And law enforcement's hands were tied. They're not tied now. Actually, you should give them a little bit of some better weapons there to quell what's going on in L.A. and send a message to anybody else who's thinking about that. The laws of the United States will be upheld unless you change them. Now, today is election day. You can get out here and make the first steps on reshaping your government if you want. But again, we keep sending the same people back all the time, so I don't think there's a big urgency or concern to change the government. I can see in the next 10 to maybe 20 years, you're going to have a very heavy Republican influence here in the United States, possibly in New Jersey, because if you look at statistics, it looks like the next governor will be a Republican. It's like, some cycle that we go through here. But people are crying for change. They see what has happened over the last 4 years. They've seen the cities burn down. They've seen the protests. They've seen all this. Now they're seeing what's happening when somebody is going to enforce the laws. And believe me, people are happy to see our laws enforced. All right, we're going to break for commercial. You're listening to The City Show. I'll be right back.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers a quality of life you deserve in one of our many high-rise towers. With amenities such as the on-site Newport Path, light rail, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Kohl's, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams and Acme Supermarket are just outside your front door. A health and fitness center, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. Enjoy the New York skyline from our waterfront and various parks. Manhattan is just one path stop away, or a quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Looking to visit? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. For more information, visit us at newportnj.com. Make lasting memories to cherish forever. It's incredible. It's you, Newport. Live like you want.
We're back. It was in The City Show here, Pat O'Melia, here on GGR Radio. I just put a piece of gum in my mouth. Usually do that at a commercial. I was talking to Garrett here. As I said before, you want to make change, it starts local. It starts statewide before you get federal. Today is the primary elections. I voted today on Patterson Street. I will say I'm not against senior citizens' work. I'm a senior citizen. We got to get seniors who can actually interface with today's technology. So I'm trying. It took me about 15 minutes to vote because the guy's got this stylus and he's poking away on this pad and he can't spell, even though I brought my my ballot with me and I've given it to him. But we finally got it done. There was another lady there. My name wasn't popping up. They're saying I had to do provisional. And on the other side, the other district said, that's Pat O'Melia. We know he's been here for years. I said, yeah, I've been voting here in this spot for about 40-some-odd years now. But we got it squared away. We had another person, a younger person, had to come in and do the interface there. Then I got to vote on the new election machine. I like the old ones better. I like throwing the little levers. But I got my votes in there. So hopefully the polls are open till 8 o'clock tonight. That's probably the last time I go to Patterson Street. But that's where it was the senior center. Now it's no longer the senior center. I guess we're going to sell that building. Sell that building and sell the fire department, the old fire department building on South Street, and use that money to renovate some fire departments. But make sure you get out and vote. Who we voting for today? Well, as I have already endorsed, I endorsed Mayor Steve Fulop for governor. So I'm looking for him to win the Democratic primary. On the Republican side, I'm looking at Jack Citarelli, another decent guy. That would be great if I can have a Jack Citarelli, Steve Fulop face-off starting tomorrow, I guess. Well, Hudson County. I was even joking around when I was voting. Said, don't forget to bring the cartridges, because there's always somebody's one job is to bring the cartridge from the voting booth. You have one job. Your job is to bring the cartridge to County Plaza so they can count the votes. So what happened? How do you show up at County Plaza? Oh, you know what? I didn't have my cartridge with me. Oh, let me go back and get it. But now the machines are impounded, so you can't just go back and get it. You got one job, is to bring the cartridge so they can count the votes. It'll be interesting to see if we have election results tonight. That's one of the problems I have with the early voting and the voting by mail. There isn't really an election day anymore, unless it's like an overwhelming. You don't get a winner because we take forever to count the votes, especially in Hudson County, we take forever to count the votes. Barbara Netzer wasn't too bad. Junior has issues. Junior takes a long time for Junior Maldonado, our county clerk, to get the votes out. Barbara would get them out, and even if Barbara screwed up and there was a problem, a cartridge was missing, we'd all arrive at her office the next day to find out why, and Barbara would just come out and say, somebody effed up. No, that would be it. Where are you going to go from that? Yeah, somebody effed up. She's admitting it. Now Al Sullivan, myself, Earl Morgan, would be like, oh, okay, I guess we go home now. Yeah, somebody effed up. That was it. He wasn't trying to cop to any excuses. Somebody effed up. So who are we voting for today? You got, of course, the governor. Got 11 people running for governor. For that matter, one guy on the Republican side got locked up over the weekend. He didn't pay his child support. So he's out now. I don't think he'll be getting many votes. I think you got six on the Democratic side. You got Sweeney. We're in Democrat, Hudson County, so I should know this. We got Sherrill, Sweeney, Fulop, Russ Baraka. Can you remember them all? Steve Spiller, Sean Spiller. I think I named it, right? Is that them all of them? The Spiller guy. Yeah, I think I got all six there. And Josh Gottheimer. There we go. Now we got the six. I'm predicting Fulop wins this. If he doesn't, it's going to be a real close second for Steve, and that's unfortunate. That's why, if that happens, you're going to hear about ranked choice voting. That'll be the next thing. Yeah, you finish second, you got to somehow get another bite of that apple. I'm looking at, I say Josh Gottheimer finishes fourth. He might get over Ross Baraka, but I'm definitely, it's Fulop one or second, in my opinion. Cheryl, if Cheryl wins, or she's number two. And the thing with Gottheimer, will be interesting to review this election. He's never lost an election before. It'll be interesting to review it to see what happened to this guy. Was he came out with guns a-blazing, and then he ran out of ammo, and he just fell back. His commercials were good. He makes a good appearance. He talks well, but he just didn't get the traction, at least not with me anyway. And a lot of other voters, according to the polls here. So you're looking for, if you're a Democrat, you're voting for a Democrat in a Democratic governor primary. And Republican, same thing. Like I said, I'm endorsing Steve Fulop on the Democrat side, Jack Citarelli on the Republican side. And again, we'll stay with Hudson County. You have the assembly people in my district. I went with Jessica Ramirez, one of my radio divas here. Katie Brennan. She was nice enough to come into the studio a few times. So I appreciate how open she is. And last night she tweeted out her home phone number, or a cell phone number, if people want to call her and go over her platform. That's pretty ballsy if you ask me, but okay. You're going to get a lot of phone calls for a long time now. Unless you got a burner phone there, Katie. That might be it. She might just have a burner phone. That after today, throw that thing away. One of them track phone deals, pay $20 a month, one of them. On the sheriff's side, I went with Jimmy Davis, the mayor of Bayonne. I don't really have a problem with Frank, our current sheriff. I just think it's probably time for a change. I think a change is needed, a little more youth there. So I went with Jimmy Davis. Again, I would strongly suggest you follow my choices. But again, it's an election. It's all up to you. Now, you're probably getting a little election fatigue. You're sick of looking at the signs. They're all over the place. Well, you can take your breath after tomorrow, and then it starts up again. You got the general election, and now our local elections will start coming into focus. You got big election here in Jersey City for mayor, where you got Bill O'Day, you got James Solomon, you got Jimmy McGreevy. I'm forgetting some of these guys. My mind is drawing blanks on. That's the top three guys. Joyce Randolph. Yes, the honeymooners are running. Joyce Randolph. Joyce Waterman is running. Masab Ali. And there was some young girl just entered the race. I don't know her at all. So we now have 6 candidates. That's why when I'm setting up to do the debates, and we'll probably broadcast them live on Comcast this year. We'll do the council and we'll do the mayor. I don't do any until everybody's certified. Because everybody can say they want to run for mayor. It's another thing getting to the starting blocks. Well, I won't wait. I think their certification is August the 21st. I think Highness is doing a mayoral debate on the 19th with NJCU. So I don't know if he's going to have all 6 candidates. It's a little early. I'm like 5 months out. So I'm not sure I really want to have any debates that far away from Election Day. But if you're concerned about election fatigue, oh, you're about to get a lot more fatigue. Because now you're going to kick in with the general election for governor, head-to-head. I don't know if we got any independents for governor. Not that anybody said yet. So somebody could still pop in. We'll see how that goes. And then you got Hoboken. You got the race for mayor there. Don't be surprised if Robbie loses the assembly and decides, you know what? I want to get to 300 parking tickets. Well, I'll run again for mayor. I know you got Tiff Fisher. She's been in the studio many times. Emily, she's running. She's been in the studio a few times. Ruben Ramos was just in here a couple weeks ago. I've known Ruben a long, long time. Somebody else. I'm trying to think. Somebody else is who? Jenny Pooh. No, she's running for assembly. Jenny Pooh. Man, I'm telling you, Michael Russo. I'm having a problem with names today. Michael Russo. I may need one of those Biden tests to see if my mind is working right. So we got 2 big elections. So we'll do a Hoboken. I'll have the podium set up. So we'll run the Jersey City people out, run the Hoboken people in. Just don't get, how many podiums we got? 6? 7? Well, is that counting as collapsible? I don't want to know if I use that. That's for the kids. And also, I can only handle 5 inputs on my mixer. I don't want more than 5 candidates for any one of these elections. You get 6, it gets a little dicey with the camera work we have to do. Yeah, that one, that's for the kids, the collapsible one there. We did your local elections in Hoboken. Now, when all said and done, I was watching this thing. Friends of mine keep sending me Leroy Troop's videos. Sends me these guys. We got to do something with the YouTubers. Now, everybody should be able to get their opinion out there. These guys were in Trenton trying to get into the governor's office. They just want to go see Murphy. You're not walking in the governor's office. You're not walking around those government buildings. It's unannounced, and you're running around with your cameras and all. So I'm watching this, and I'm thinking, what the hell? You guys know damn well you're not going to get in to see Murphy. And Leroy's talking about he's been a victim of a crime. Plotkin dropped all the charges. Yeah, at one point they had like 10 state troopers all tied up with Leroy Troop. We've got to come in and figure out how do we handle this YouTube community. Now, we're still under the same laws we've used and protocols we use for freedom of speech and people can talk, but that's not the case now. What these YouTubers are doing, they're using governmental buildings and situations as their stage, their set. So they can get their views and they get money from YouTube, and they want to have these confrontations. They want the confrontation. They want to be touched. And now, of course, Leroy did the assault. He was yelling assault yesterday because they kind of pushed him out the door. You got to go, oh, you've been assaulted. He was kicked out of chambers in the Senate chambers for attacking Brian Stack, and Brian said, you're out of order, told the state troopers to remove him, and they removed him pretty damn quick. And I think he tripped himself going out of there. But something has got to come on board on how we're going to deal going forward. Now, my opinion, when I take my cameras to the county or I'm filming something, I have to extend my liability insurance. I have to call Jerome up and say, listen, or if I'm filming on a board, wherever I'm filming, wherever we turn the cameras, I have to extend liability coverage there. And I have to list in the case of the county of Hudson or the city of Jersey City, I have to list them as additional loss payee, additional insured. They had to do that with these YouTube guys. Because they're coming in, they got their little cell phones. And somebody's got some nice rigs. Some of these guys are doing more than a cell phone rig. But somewhere along the line, we've got to come up with some way of a protocol that has to be followed by the YouTubers. And they just can't go and tie up 10 or so state troopers with the nonsense. If you look at Leroy's latest one, and that was pure nonsense there. But going forward, what can happen? And my timer just died, so we'll have to watch the clock. That's a fairly new timer, too. And I thought we charged this up. My timer just went up. Brian Stack. Now, Brian is one of the big kahunas here in Hudson County and in Trenton, too. And, Brian, you got the battle between him and the mayor of North Bergen, Nicholas Sacco, and various other county mayors and council people, that sort of thing. Yeah, all being driven into a political war that probably none of us want. One thing I don't understand about Brian, and I've known Brian politically probably longer than anybody else here in Hudson County. We were both coming up pretty much the same time as I was starting the Jersey City radio show, transitioning from professional wrestling to civics radio, and he was coming up as a freeholder. Jerry Healy and I had known each other for a billion years, but I didn't realize either one of us would ever get into politics. And of course, he became the mayor, and I started the radio. But before that, we used to hang out in his mother's bar. I remember when Nicholas Sacco was running in North Bergen. I used to have a shop out here in North Bergen. But the guy I knew the most was Brian Stack. And he is a guy, intelligent, he knows politics. He is a guy who's 10 years, we had the same birthday, he's 10 years younger than I am, who's going to be in politics for at least another 20 years. He should be the benevolent one. He should be the guy that puts everybody together, heads up the organization. Oh, still working? I don't know about that, but it's charging. He should be the guy, the overlord of Hudson County, the benevolent one. Fighting the Nick Sackos of the world isn't working. Fighting the sheriff here doesn't work. You're going to be here when they're all gone. You know, the old Lions, you know, the Richie Turner, the Albio series, the Nicholas Sackos, Sheriff Frank, they're all gone in probably another 5 years or so. You know, these guys have served, 30, 40 years in public service. Brian's still going to be here. He's the guy that should be building the Party, not fighting it. And the problem with Brian is he only knows how to fight. How do I know? Because I'm the same way. I was the same way as he was. They were in the old days. Brian would punch you in the nose. He would lock up FBI agents. Brian is a tough guy, and he hasn't mellowed out enough yet. He will, but he hasn't done it yet. Eventually, he's going to be the guy who will head this up. But I just don't see him maintaining a peace because he's just not accustomed to peace. And with Brian, assembly people, he discards them like, pennies. As I said a few weeks ago, Sean Connors, Ruben Ramos, who I mentioned earlier, they were all assembly people. It's very hard to continue to have a working relationship with Brian Stack because Brian is truly 24/7, 365, and he expects everyone to be. He's not a person that aspires for peace. And even if he's in control, eventually he basically creates his own demons. That's why Brian should always have a strong hold in Hudson County, but you really need a buffer there. So I would like to see Brian Stack be the benevolent one after this election tomorrow, try to bring all the sides together and try to unite the 8 CDO and get everybody back on the same page. But even if it was done, it wouldn't last long. That's just not Brian Stack. Brian, it's like he doesn't work well with others. I'm the same way. I don't work well with others. I'm probably getting a little bit better than I used to be. Many of the things I accomplished in Jersey City, all the civic things, I did on my own. I didn't need all those people. I know what I wanted to get done. The other people just held me up. Anything I dedicated or monuments, all that stuff, I didn't need a committee for that. I knew what I needed to get done, and Stack's the same way. And what happens, Brian wants to get something done. Somebody's going to try to say, let's take the long road and see how it works out. Let's think this over. And that's where the problems come. But if Brian could get a good number 2 who could be a buffer, things would work out a lot better. But again, I know exactly how Brian Stack is because I was that way. So I just don't see that happening. But really think about it. Here's the guy. He should be building the organization. He knows the old Lions eventually going to go out to retirement, and he'll still be here. But he'll never get along with the young Lions. The Rob Menendez, the Stephen Phillips of the world, those guys. They'll always be that because Brian just isn't a person that makes peace and keeps things going calm. You'll also be interested to see what happens in this governor race because Brian does very well with Trenton. And if that spigot is cut off, it'll be interesting to see how well Brian manages Union City when he's not getting a ton of money from the state of New Jersey. But again, Brian could be the guy if he just changes his ways. All right, let's take a commercial break, and we'll come back with electric bill gimmicks. You're listening to The City Show here on GGR. I'll be right back.
No one plans on heart disease, but everyone should have a plan for it. We help patients of all lifestyles and medical histories plan for healthy hearts. We offer convenient screenings without judgment, hundreds of preventive programs, and women's heart specialists. And we're the largest cardiac surgery program in New Jersey. Make plans for a healthy heart with RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
We're back. City Show Radio here on GGR. We're talking about Brian Stack during the commercial. I'll tell you why Brian Stack is successful. A couple of reasons. First, he drills down into his constituency. He is there for the people of Union City. Plus, he campaigns like nobody else. I mean, it's amazing. We're talking about Garrett's mailbox is full of campaign literature. This guy's like 14 pieces of campaign literature. We used to talk that Brian campaigns like if he was an exterminator, he would go after a mouse with a bazooka. You know, he only knows one way, and he'll run himself into debt. With no opposition, he would still run himself into debt. When it comes to running the campaign, Brian's pretty damn good at that. And when it comes to constituent services, probably nobody. I guess Sacco is pretty close to him. And yeah, I give some credit to Steve Fulop, too. Steve does a pretty good job with it. Yeah, he may not do it himself, but he'll delegate it. He'll get Stacey Flanagan or call someone like me and say, you know something about that, right? Why don't you look into this for me? But he'll get it done. But I got to talk to Fulop over a Section 8 situation with a guy I know. Guy's lived in the apartment for 40 years, and somebody determined it was a two-bedroom. And he might be wrong. I got to get in. I didn't want to get into Steve Fulop during the campaign on this. They want him to move out of his unit because he shouldn't have a two-bedroom. He's been there for 40 years, and everything is fine with the Section 8. And now the landlord's going to take the money after all these days. They're thinking about turning it into a condo, but he's going to take the Section 8 money. Now Section 8 is saying he's got to move because he shouldn't have a two-bedroom. I've been there for 40-some-odd years. So that's some of the things I'll be getting. It's the stuff I get involved with you don't hear about, but these are the kind of things I have to get involved in. Electric bill. Now, you know, in June, our rates went up, but you didn't see it yet. You will soon, but you're going to get a credit. You're going to get a $100 credit towards your electric bill because the Democrats so screwed up our energy here in New Jersey for the last 8 years. We can't generate enough energy. We shut down nuclear plants. We're putting windmills out in the ocean that were never going to work and never even came close to being built. Now we can't generate enough because everything is electric. You know, we got to charge our phones. Everything in our house is electric. You watch an old TV show, notice how many things were actually electric. You're watching Andy Griffith or Bewitched or something like that. Wasn't a lot of need for electricity. You had a refrigerator, you had a television, maybe you had a stereo. That's it. Now you look at your house, everything is electric. Everything in your house, and we're using a lot of their cars are electric now. We're not generating enough, so the rates are going up. And it's no surprise, if you listen to me, I talked about this before, we should be embracing nuclear. Nuclear man, let me embrace you. It's clean. We can manage this, and you don't even need these huge stations anymore. You don't like the 3 Mile Island thing with the big, flower vases out there, whatever they call those, nuclear reactor smokestacks. You got these pocket ones. Like one of these can run a whole city. I'm fine with that. Let's have these things. We have unlimited energy here. Well, we didn't do any of that. We did all this, feel-good stuff. At least it felt good to them. Again, ideologies. We need to embrace nuclear. We need to embrace natural gas. You can look at coal again. Coal, there's a lot of good scrubbers. It's not like everybody acts like it's the 50s, like they're talking about pollution. Oh, the cars and the trucks are polluting the atmosphere. As an ex-truck driver in the transportation field, trucks today are so much different than the trucks of my day. I mean, they even got stickers on them, clean idle. These are well thought out, well engineered units. And even in the cars, it's not like my antique cars, like the 64 Dodge. Yes, I can asphyxiate you with that car. The cars today, you could put your mouth on the tailpipe. You're going to be okay. It's so much different. But people keep talking about that. Forget about the wind. Forget about the solar. I like solar. I got in my kid's house in Seaside. I got like about 100 solar lights out there. And they're great if the sun is out. If the sun's not out, it's pretty dark in the yard. Embrace what we need. But your bills are going up. But you're going to get a $100 credit. And if you're low income, you're going to get a $250 credit. And that's going to be paid out to you by our New Jersey Clean Energy Fund. So we're just stealing money over here to give it to you until after the election. Then we're going to give you another sign. Say, hey, if you send these same people back again, you should get hit with more electric charges because you're an idiot if you send the same people back to Trenton again. Because they're the ones that screwed up the energy problem here. They're the ones that said, let's have windmills in the sky and solar panels all over. Mistake. But, at least you get $100 now. But right after the election, the bills will hit. The real one. Let's get back to Robbie Balla. Now, Robbie's running for election today. I was going to get into this. I don't want to get in too early. I want to seem like I was trying to hurt Robbie's chances to get elected. But it is D-Day now. How the hell do you amass 250 tickets? And I don't know if it's true. They're saying, you shouldn't pay the fees on a lot of them. Somehow they were taken care of. They used to call that fixing a ticket. I'm not saying Robbie fixed any tickets, but he certainly didn't pay them like I had to. Now, I live in the Heights of Jersey City. That's the ticket capital of the world. Certainly the ticket capital of Jersey City and maybe New Jersey. You can't afford getting a ticket there. I'm one of the reasons back in 2000 I fought to get a parking lot on my street. Brett Schundler, Carmen Venezia was heading the parking authority. Billy Gorehand owned some property on my block, and I convinced the city and the parking authority to buy the lot, build a parking lot, because parking was so ridiculous up there. It's like 16 spots. We were able to get it, and yes, I got a spot there. I've been in that lot since 2000, right on the corner of Congress and Central. And what an impact it had on the block, taking all those cars off. And then we opened the light rail, and then people were parking on our block to go to the light rail. So at least we still had the 16 spot. But for a couple of years, it was like nirvana. You could come home and you could park because we took those cars off the street and we put them in a lot. Now, still, it would have been a lot when I'm in Jersey City, running the post office. Like, I am so bad with names today. Barbara Spinello, she used to head up the parking authority. She used to say, Pat will park illegally if he could park legal. There could be a legal spot, and Pat will still park in front of a fire hydrant. And that's true, because if I'm like running into the post office, I'm figuring some poor bastard wants to park and go get a Blimpie or something. So I'll take the illegal spot because I'm just running into the post office. And sure enough, there would be a PEO running out of the parking authority giving me a ticket as I'm doing it. But yes, I know one of the shows, one of the TV shows, the Jersey City show, I had a whole folder of all the tickets. There was 50 tickets in there, but it wasn't 250 tickets. And they were amassed over years. You have to be like me. You have to to get 250 tickets, you must see a parking enforcement officer on the corner and you park right in front of him. Right in the front handicap spot, or you're going to park right in the fire hydrant, too close to the curb, too close to the intersection, whatever. You have to be saying, get out of your car, give him the finger, give him a ticket. I know somebody. How the hell do you get that many tickets? And it doesn't look like he paid for any. It would be taken care of. I assume he had to pay some of them. Now, it doesn't matter if they're being fixed, and some people are accusing him of getting these tickets fixed. My question is, how the hell did you amass 250 tickets? Now, you've been the mayor of Hoboken, coming on 8 years, maybe? That's a lot of tickets in 8 years. And this guy's coming from the Heights. For that matter, I texted Amy DeGeese, who, if you remember a while back, she had an issue about tickets. I said, you're not even in this guy's league. I think Amy had 20 tickets in 10 years. For that matter, I asked, where do I sign up to only get 2 tickets a year? Being I had 2 tickets a year, I'd go down and sign up for that right now. 250 tickets. That's a lot of tickets. let's get to Trump and Elon Musk. I think Elon Musk is the genius of our time. Yeah, you're almost forced to say the Thomas Edison of our time. But Thomas Edison stole a lot of ideas. He kind of glommed on to good ideas. And then even Elon, he looked at Tesla. He's seen possibilities. He brought Tesla, PayPal. He was created there. Neuralink, SpaceX, Starlink. Yeah, guy. There's a reason he's worth $800 billion right now. Remember when we thought Bill Gates was the richest guy? Musk would buy lunch for Bill Gates. That's how it is. The guy with the most money. Now, him and Trump are fighting. Now, if you listen to me over the past when these Trumps got in, I knew these two guys weren't going to be together for long. They were two alpha males. They were going to the two like two rams, hitting that horn thing. You knew that was coming, and it did. But as nasty as it got, as I mentioned before, I transitioned from professional wrestling into civics and governmental radio with the Jersey City show back in the late 90s. This is a wrestling work. They needed to get Elon out of government. He was only there short term. It was only like a 120-day deal or something like that. His Tesla customers were being attacked. Tesla stock was taking a hit. Elon had to get out of there. So they had to come up with a way to get him out. So the work was in. Elon became the heel, and Trump is the good guy, the baby face. And they argue and they text things back and forth. And that was the thing where Trump is on the Epstein files. Don't you think Biden would have let us all know about that if Trump was on the Epstein files? If his name was there? That would have been billboard. There would have been pictures of Trump and Epstein hanging out together. Does he know Epstein? I'm sure all these big, rich, famous people knew Epstein. But I'll tell you, if they had anything on Trump along with Epstein, that would have came out a long time ago with Biden. But this is all a wrestling work. And Trump has some experience with the WWE. He's been to quite a few of them. For that matter, he was just in Jersey, Trump. He was just in, was he in Newark? I think it was in Newark at a UFC match. I think at the Prudential Center. You know what's a pain in the ass that is? Now, when I had the shop in Newark, I used to buy, sell, and repair trailers back in the old days. When the Pope or the President would come in, they would close all the roads, especially because my shop wasn't too far from Newark Airport. There were times I would sit on 1 and 9 trying to go home for like 2 hours because Clinton or the Pope were coming in. And you're worried about you shooting something from the highway at the plane or something like that. A pain that, you're trying to go to Tony D. Connectors in Newark for dinner, and the president and his caravan there of cars are coming in, closing all the roads. That's got to be a big pain. Big. It's nice that he gets out, but I appreciate he just stay where the hell he is. How much time I got here? Got 12 minutes. Let me get back into, documents. I mentioned this before, documentation fee. I just purchased a Ford Transit Connect van for our high school program. Well, now a van where we could put the streaming equipment in, our video mixes, our cameras, our tripods, our light stands, our radio mixes and laptops. We can get the kids out on location where they can call baseball games, high school sports, football, whatever the event is. So I got the van, and you got to get registered. Now you got to fill out paperwork. You got a corp code. In the old days, when you registered, you just gave you a corp code. And you're looking at the contract, and I was fighting with him about the price of motor vehicles. Like $300 for motor vehicles. I said, I can go to motor vehicles myself. I know people at the motor vehicles. I know somebody in everything. If there's a walk of life, I know somebody in. If I'm going to buy a TV, I know somebody. Actually, I'd probably just buy it off Amazon. Nobody can beat Amazon prices. So I'm arguing about that. And then there's this documentation fee. It was $349. And I said, well, what document are you going to give me? Where you're going to get the title? Well, I'm going to pay for that with the motor vehicle fee. What document? Well, there's documents, paperwork. What paperwork? I got this one yellow piece, the contract agreement. What? I couldn't get an answer for the document. It's a friggin' grab. And it's printed. It's not written in on the documents for the car. It's printed in there permanent. When they wrote up the agreement, they put that figure in there. What we need to do, we have to stop letting you get ripped off. Now, I don't mind buying private, but if I buy it off the lot, you get the inspection. And when we took the car, when I took 4 of these vehicles out, I wrote them all up. I brought them to my shop, and this case is in Tom's River. CNC, letter N and C. They did the inspections on the vehicles. They wrote up what had to be done. We gave them the list at the used car lot, and they had to do all these repairs before we would consider buying them, and they did. And then we sent the vehicle back to CNC and made sure all the repairs were done right. For that matter, I think I got a brake job on that because I was going to do the brakes on it, and I used it today because I knew one of the rotors were warped. Not warped anymore, so they must have did the brakes on it also. So there's a reason to go to a used car lot. I need to talk, when we get done with this election, on who our senators and assembly people are. I'm going to talk to them about removing that. And like I said, it's printed right into the agreement. When they sent the agreement out to the printer, that figure is there. Now, you can negotiate the motor vehicles, but that figure is there. And when you ask what documentation, they can't give it to you because, we give you the title, but I paid for that in the motor vehicles. There's a fee for that on itself. I couldn't get an answer. And I'm like laughing. I said, well, you got to tell me what, I want to see the document. They dropped the car off to me. They give me the folder. It says, this the documentation? Yes, it's a registration and the title. That's all. And I paid for that with the MVC fee. So this documentation is just a $349 grab. That has to be eliminated. So when this is all said and done after this primaries, man, I don't want to wait until the general election. I got to talk to Angela McKnight, Raj, Brian Stack, and our assembly people to get that removed. And another thing I want to do when we're talking about cars, when you have a car, of course, you got to get fixed. Now, I'm a car guy. I don't have a lift. Even if I'm at the kid's house in Seaside, there's 2-car garage. There's no lift. And, I got bad legs. For that matter, I was doing oil change, 2 oil changes in 2 weeks. I'm thinking I'm doing the oil change on the Ford, which, by the way, the filter is in the perfect spot on the Ford. American car, they know you're going to change the filter, unlike the Chevy Evo, where the filter is horizontal and behind something, right out front. I'm working on this, and last week when I was doing the Evo's oil change, I had a problem getting up because of bad legs. I got to get my knees replaced. So I'm like military crawling in my garage to get to the bench, and I'm pulling myself up. And I'm working on the van, and I'm doing some rust treatment under there with my rust inhibitor. And I'm thinking, I said, hopefully I can get up. My back was bothering me, my knees are bothering me. So I slide out on my magic creeper. Sure enough, I got a problem getting up. I said, damn it, now I got to do the military crawl thing again. But I can't do the repairs I used to again. I don't have a lift. I supply the parts of the shops I work with, whether it's CNC or WAN, but I just dropped off a fuel line to WAN for my daughter's PT Cruiser, WAN over here on Patterson Lake Road. When I'm buying parts, for that matter, I'm doing a front axle brake job on the black car, the little black Chevy, because the caliper froze. I'm going down to Best Buy in Jersey City on Grand Avenue. I'm getting 2 new calipers, AC Delco calipers, and I got rotors and pads in the garage. I'm going to drop them off. I'm going to buy the best possible parts I can get. I'm going to buy AC Delco parts, OEM. When you bring your car to a shop and they're putting on a tie rod, they want to make, I'm not saying all shops, but a lot of them do. They're going to get, where I would get a Moog tie rod, what might cost me, say, $60. They get some Chinese one that costs $15, and it'll last you maybe a year, and you got a problem again. That Moog is going to probably last you a lifetime. Neoprene, the bushings and all. We've got to have it written and codified that you can supply the parts to the shop that you're going with. They're making a profit on their labor rate. They don't have to make a big profit on the parts. You should be allowed, you need a battery replaced. Here, I have a battery. I'll pay you to put this in. You need a center drag link. You need brakes. You could supply your own brakes. Again, the brake rotors I got, they're treated so they don't rust on me. I'm getting ceramic brake pads. I'm getting the best possible brake pads. I don't want to do this brake job again in 2 years because it's cheap material. I want to get 80, 90,000 out of those brakes. You want to get 80, 90,000. So 2 things I need to do, talk to our elected leaders, get it to week, you can supply the parts for your car. You're going to bring it in, you put the parts in the back seat of your car, bring it in, say, here's what I want. If they get held up, you got the wrong parts, and you got a problem, because they're not going to have their bay doors or their bay lift tied up with your car with the wrong parts. But eBay and all these online, Amazon, they make sure the parts fit your car. I like going to pick up my parts. I like going down to see Ched and the guys at Buywise and open the box, and I'll look at the rotors. Like, I know what I'm looking at. Ooh, nice rotors. I'm going to see that AC Delco. But you got to bring the cords back, so you make sure when they take the old rotors off, they're going to give me the rotors back, and I get my money back. But we need to eliminate that documentation fee because there ain't no document. And two, you should be able to supply your own parts. Get the best possible part. Don't leave it up to somebody else or somebody wants to make a buck on you. Yeah, like I said, getting front end parts, you want to get Moog. You cannot go wrong getting Mopar, Autolite, or AC Delco. Those are the parts that are made for your car. You want to get a tune-up. You want to make sure you get the right ignition pack. You want to get the best possible spark plugs. Iterum is the spark plugs that last even longer. They cost a little more money, but I would put them in every time. Especially you got some spark plugs that are a real pain to get to. So you want to, I think it's Iterum. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. What is it? Iridium spark plugs. That's what I put in the Lincoln because two of those spark plugs, they're hard to get to. So put them in. You go like twice the life of the spark plug. But that should be your choice. Go out and get the best possible parts. Put them in the box, put them in the back seat. You bring them to the shop. They know what you're bringing the car in for. All the parts are in the back. You can let supply fluids and that sort of thing. But that you should be allowed to do. I will work on that after this election. All right, last thing, unless Jimmy Davis, the mayor of Bayonne, who's running for sheriff here in Hudson County, he's talking about putting together an e-bike task force. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I have a problem with the bikes and the bike lanes. I don't think we need protected bike lanes. I managed to ride bikes all around Jersey City as a kid, and I managed to survive. All my friends survived. It wasn't life-threatening, but we did ride against traffic. I'd be pedaling. I'd see you. You see me. Now we ride with it. Not too happy about that. The protected bike lanes, we don't need it. I was riding around. I was 8 years old, and I made it home every night. E-bikes have even taken the bike situation to another level. They are just cutting off. They're up on the sidewalks. They go through lights. They're worse than the pedal bikes because they're powered, and they can get up to about 30 miles an hour. You can fool with them and get a few more miles out of them also an hour. Yes, we need to crack down on that. And if Jimmy Davis is talking about having a task force, I wholeheartedly agree with Jimmy Davis. Is that enough for you to go vote for him? Maybe it is. But we do need a task force. Somebody, downtown Jersey City, problem with e-bikes. Hoboken, it's e-bike mania over there. I think Bergen Line Avenue up in Union City and West New York, same thing. I know on Central Avenue, it's a problem with the e-bikes. So, yes, I wholeheartedly agree. All right, we're about out of show. Don't forget to vote. Get out there. The polls are open until 8 o'clock. I gave you my picks, but whatever it is, go out there and vote. You can't complain unless you vote. All right, you be good. You be safe. I'm Pat O'Melia. This is City Show Radio on GGR. Good night.